business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the pod.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation, a reminder that business life and education, because that's what we're going to talk about today, isn't just about profit. It's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal, every decision, every day. Today's guest is going to light you up like a firecracker. Just spent 5 minutes with her. I'm enjoying her already. You're going to be motivated. You're going to be challenged. And most importantly, you're going to walk away with tools that inspire action both in your life and lives of others. Imagine you can help other people with the resources she's going to give you. But before we dive in, here's your homework today. Audience, I want to think about how you're going to serve yourself and others today. And that's the key word. Just start today. It doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change the game for anybody. So lean in, take notes, and let's discover how servant leadership in business and life can create ripple effects that last far beyond the bottom line. And a quick shout out to my sponsor, Epic Impact, the only universal, emotionally resonant messaging framework that works anywhere for any audience. This 4-step system transforms how I pitch, post, podcast, engage, persuade, inspire, and close. 4 powerful words to tell your story. I use it daily and it works great. Grab your free trial at epicimpact.ai with the promo code Steve, and you can start inspiring action for free. And I'm excited to announce we hit top 20. Now we're top 6 in small business marketing across the world. My great guest today and all you wonderful guests and audience that have been listening, we're all making an impact. It's not about me, the host. It's about all of us making that impact with a servant's heart. So thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. Let's bring my guest on. Dr. Carrie, welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.
Thank you, Steve. I'm thrilled to be here.
You talk values. How do you bring values in higher education, which is what your expertise is, to a servant's heart? How do you blend those?
I think everything we do needs to start by our values. And if we're not sure how what we are doing in higher education or in business or in any other industry connects with our values, then we are missing something. We're either missing where we may be messing up or hurting people, harming people, or we're missing opportunities to serve others more effectively. That's a short answer.
It is a short answer, but it leads to let's talk about the teachers.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about the students. You may have had a great comment about students. How can teachers be better servant hearts?
Well, I think teachers probably begin as servant hearts, right? I mean, I think teaching has to be one of the most challenging, both cognitively, emotionally, intellectually, maybe even physically at times fields. And I don't think anyone goes into teaching to make millions or to oftentimes to even make a name for themselves. They go into teaching because they really enjoy connecting with young people, and in higher education, sometimes other adults too, oftentimes. And they are inspired themselves, I think, by watching students light up with a concept or connect the dots between 2 ideas in a way that is new to them and exciting to them. And I think that that is all maybe perhaps the definition of acting with the servant's heart, at least as I see it in education, which is you're doing what you're doing, not for yourself. I mean, yes, probably in faculty in higher education, all care deeply about Victorian literature if that's what you teach in research, but that's not why you teach, right? You teach because you want to watch students critically and creatively engage with materials and form new brain connections and think about things from new perspectives, engage with students who might come from completely opposite backgrounds and hold vastly different beliefs than one another and find common ground. I think that's the core of teaching, and maybe also the core of acting with the servant's heart too, is we're setting the stage for somebody else to spark curiosity, to spark learning, to spark ambition and drive for the future.
You just gave the resume for anybody listening or people want to become teachers. That's where they need to start. If they don't have that, they shouldn't become teachers, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We want good teachers. We don't want a lot of teachers. We need more teachers, but we want good ones, quality ones.
I agree.
Not just bring it. Go ahead.
there's sort of a saying in education that teaching is not really the right word for what they do. It's really all about facilitating learning, and unfortunately, learning facilitators just doesn't roll off the tongue quite
That's
as
a good
easily
point.
as teachers. But I think that's the
Yeah.
goal, right?
Yeah. I love that, learning educators. That's good. Yeah, it doesn't roll the tongue. Yeah, the marketing companies are like putting their thumbs down. Oh no, that's not good.
Understandably.
So let's flip to the student side, because it's got to be yin and yang is what comes to my head. The teacher's got to be a learning educator. That student's got to be willing to learn.
Yeah. And they have to be even beyond that, Steve. They have to be in a context or circumstance or time in their life when they are able to learn too. I do the majority of my work with community colleges, and so many community college students are in honors programs. They're super bright, they're hungry, they're asking for more, they're learning as quickly as they can. They've probably got designs on transferring to university or going straight into a six-figure salary in a, sort of new technical field. And many students in community colleges perhaps have had really dismal experiences in high school, who haven't seen themselves as learners before, who've never gotten this sort of positive feedback to uh, engage in their own educational journey in a way that feels authentic for them. Maybe they've never had learning material that they can see connections to their own lives and experiences before. Um, and so I think, and some of them, frankly, are hungry and they're not getting 3 meals a day, or they don't have a safe and consistent place to sleep, or they can't make it to class because their car broke down and they don't have a bus pass, or whatever the other sort of holistic challenges that inform whether or not we can even show up able to learn. So yes, there is a lot on. We need our students to show up and be willing to make these connections, be willing to talk to people who disagree with them and find common ground and learn from them, as well as maybe share your own perspectives. But we also have to acknowledge, I think, as educators and maybe as humans, that not all of us are currently always in the spaces where that's possible. And so how do we do that? How do we give some grace and still push people to continue along that journey, that learning journey?
I love that. I love you work with a community college, because a lot of people can't afford college,
Sure.
but a lot of kids want to get into college. I mean, I went back to community college at 40 years old.
Good for
Just
you.
it was the greatest thing. And I eventually started a company. I did what you did. I went to the six-figure,
Yep.
but it was a great opportunity because I wasn't ready for a full college, 4-year
Yeah.
college.
Yeah.
What's so rewarding about your consulting work with community colleges that gives you so much passion?
I think community colleges, maybe more than any other institutions I have participated in or worked with, um, they're often educating the most marginalized, the most vulnerable. And so the stories that you walk away with, having worked with a community college student or with community college personnel, are just so heartwarming. You're literally saving people's lives in many cases. And
Mm.
whether the life you are saving is a 40-year-old man who comes back for some retraining because he wants a career shift and he needs a couple skills that he knows is going to help him along that journey, or you're helping, a young Black girl who grew up in foster care who has never had a good experience before in school and who all of a sudden is exposed to a new concept or idea that just lights her up. I mean, those are the reasons why we work in community colleges. And I also think there's a connection to our communities that exists. I mean, it's in the name, community college, right? That our universities, we talk about a town and gown relationship, but I think that with community colleges, we are working with businesses who are then hiring our graduates, right? And then those graduates are working their way up the corporate ladder or the um, company ranks and coming back and giving back to the college and working with students and mentoring them and then maybe hiring the next batch on. And there's a real ebb and flow. There's an ecology of sharing and helping and building the workforce and building the economic vitality of a community that's really exciting.
Yeah, community is a great. I didn't even think about that till you brought it up. You're teaching me so much right now. I love it, because you're right. Community is much easier to learn than, hey, go out and study by yourself. I mean, I did
Yeah.
that when I went to 4-year. So, are we helping people, kids, or anybody that's going to college by offering the community college so they can make that step? Because it really helped me.
Yeah, well, I am an unabashed advocate of the community college. Yes, I
Hmm.
think which is not to say that we always do things perfectly, right? The community college is our guarantee of access to the higher education system in America, right? You do not even need a high school diploma. You can come back as a 40, 50, 70-year-old person for retraining. There's no entry requirements. And I think that is essential. And it creates other problems, right? Because that means that in community colleges, we're educating everybody from that person maybe immigrant who is learning English so that they can get their first job in America to someone who has a doctorate even and who's coming back for retraining or just that skills upgrade or that industry relevant credential. And so it creates issues for those of us who work in community colleges or with community colleges because we have to have a spectrum of services for every single person. And that's really, really hard to do well. And you're going to let go of that? Are you going to say, no, we're not going to offer retraining anymore, or we're not going to offer English as a second language anymore, or we're not going to help those students who attended the worst public high school in the worst part of town reach that level of college readiness? It's a really hard choice to make. And I'm not saying we shouldn't make those choices, right? I think that's part of innovating our way into the future. We have to make some of those choices, but they're all really difficult because they all come down to we're no longer going to serve this student or offer the same services for this student. And that is really something that's hard for educators to do, right? I mean, it's hard for businesses to say we're no longer going to offer this product. But when that product is a person and a person's life and livelihood, it becomes even more difficult.
Yeah, that becomes more personal, more emotional, which,
Yeah.
yeah, I bought a new computer. I can always buy another computer. It's not, I'll be upset I got to change everything, but it's just a computer. We
Yeah.
can't, it's hard to replace humans.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the magic wand thing because you're so darn smart. Oh my God, Carrie, I just love how your passion and smarts are so well combined. If I could,
Thank you.
wave that magic wand, what would you do to fix the higher education system? It's a tough one, I know.
Um, I think there's a lot of things we can do, and I'm gonna skip the sort of trite, easy answer, which is invest in it, because that is a given in my book. And in particularly in community colleges, our states and localities typically provide about a third the amount of per full-time student funding for a community college student as we do a university student. And then we get really upset when the outcomes are different, right?
Mhm.
There's just this is a case where correlation and causation may well be pretty closely aligned. But beyond that, I think my magic wand that I've been talking about a lot, Steve, is that those of us who work in and with higher education don't always think about this, and we can't expect anyone else who doesn't live and breathe higher education to even consider this. But our system was founded and has grown on several fundamental truths, some values, I call them. One of those is institutional autonomy, the right of institutions to make decisions about what they think is best for their institution and the students they're serving. Another is academic freedom and freedom of expression, right? We've been thinking about this and talking about this in the news a lot lately because we've run into some challenges with it. And I think freedom of expression is a core critical piece of any ability of our institutions to educate students, not tell them what to think, but teach them how to think. If they cannot speak freely, and I'm talking about both students and faculty and others, then they cannot learn because you're never going to be exposed to all the different ways of challenging your own beliefs or challenging others' beliefs if you can't do that. I think equitable access to programs and to support services is a core pillar of that. And the one that I think gets overlooked the most, the value that gets overlooked the most, is that our system was really founded on a commitment to the public good. Our institutions were founded to serve students and the communities in which they are living and working. And we forget that. And so right now, I'm sort of doing this stump speech often where I'm talking about how a lot of these fundamental values that are the bedrock of our system have been attacked. And in some cases, we are within higher education are allowing them to erode on their own too. We are not blameless in this. And so if I were to wave my magic wand, it would be for everybody to understand how those fundamental principles translate into our universities being the best in the world, our research pushing the frontiers of knowledge, our one, I would argue, one of the most equitable ways of providing access to and through institutions of higher education in the world. We don't take a test in 10th grade and say, okay, this lot you can go here and this lot you're going there, right? As they do in the rest of the world. We have a system that is open to move to and through the transfer process. And by the way, not just community college students transfer. Lots of kids go to the first, freshman year at one place and are like, nope, this is not the right place for me. I didn't get that right. And they transfer somewhere else. So it's a fluid system, and that is really important to preserve. And I think we're in this political situation here where there's been, perhaps a reaction and then a counter reaction, and we're trying to figure out our way here. And as we adjust to our current circumstances, and as we figure out what we've done well and where we've messed up a little bit, or could do better, I think we need to remain focused on those fundamental values and make sure that whatever changes we make, whatever innovations we introduce, they are focused on protecting and preserving those so that our students can continue to benefit, so that we still have opportunity for social mobility in our country, so we still have opportunity for people to pursue their passions, right? And ambitions and dreams and rise to the top and go back to school and then start a multi-million-dollar company, right? And so all those things are really foundational to our ability to do that for our population. So that's my magic wand. Stay focused on the values.
Yeah, man, that's powerful because we talked about in the green room before the show. That leads to the innovation when you mention that word is AI and tech. It's been around, but it's especially AI, it's flying. How do you see community colleges and higher education using that properly? Because of course there's the bad way, the kid on the phone and teachers trying to teach, and you get that side of it. But let's look at the good side, servant heart side.
Right. So I'm not an AI expert by any sense of the word, but I'm also trying to learn how to use it productively in my work and in my life too. Um, I think the one real benefit that I have seen since ChatGPT came on the scene a little bit ago is that it's focused educators on formative rather than summative assessment, which is just a fancy word for instead of asking students to write a 10-page essay and giving them a grade at the end of it, they're saying, what's your topic? Okay, great. Show me your outline. Okay, great. Now let's write your intro. I'm going to look at that and give you feedback. Okay, let's add a couple more paragraphs. And we're used to seeing this in middle school, maybe even high school a little bit. But we're finding is that sort of formative assessment, giving feedback at various stages along the process, not only is the better approach to facilitating learning for the student, but it also protects against ChatGPT just wrote my whole essay and it's amazing and I did it to get an A. So there are some, I would not call that an innovation in teaching and learning. I think the educators have been talking about formative assessment for a long time, but it has forced teachers and faculty in many ways to do this. And it may be harder work for them, right? They're now giving feedback 3, 4, 5 times on the same essay rather than just reading it and grading it once. But I do think it is a better way to facilitate learning than to just simply ask students to do something and give them feedback at the end.
I didn't think about the teacher side. You're right. It goes on both sides of the fence. And that leads, we're coming to the end here. It's a question that I don't ask a lot, but the future of higher education, we got more kids coming, more kids want to learn, more kids that want to do different things. What do you see the future looking like?
The future is going to be twofold, I think. I think there's going to be increasing, we've already seen this, increasingly competitive admission to the top, I don't even want to say the top, the 30, 40 most selective institutions. I think there are some that are very focused on this is where I want to go. I think it's going to set me up best for the future, rightly or wrongly, and I don't judge that at all. But what we're also going to see is, especially in the community college side of things, we are going to see more people going back for training or retraining for shorter time periods, right? So not necessarily to get an associate degree or a bachelor's degree, but to get a certificate, maybe a handful of certificates that can be stacked to develop your skills, to go into the skilled technical workforce in areas that cannot be done by machines, right? And as AI is growing so fast, and as we are literally losing jobs and skills that have been done by humans to those that, that can be taken over by machines, the jobs that must be done by humans become more important. And so we are going to need to more quickly get our students and our workforce prepared and trained in those areas and into the workforce. And so the institutions that have the most ability and historically have been able to do that has been community colleges who are so used to turning on a dime to respond to workforce conditions or to community needs and developing programs. They're used to bringing an adjunct faculty from the business world or from the technical world to teach these courses because they're at the cutting edge of what students need to know. And so I think we're going to see more and more students maybe not forgoing a bachelor's degree in the long run, but either starting or coming back to these shorter term programs that are training students to go right into the workforce in areas where we critically need them. And on top of that, I also think we're going to see a circular thing where that happens over and over and over again for the same student, right? It's no longer going to be, I got this degree or this certificate and I'm done with higher education. It's going to be, I got this, I've worked for a while, now I can identify the next skill I need to develop, and I'm going to come back and get that. And maybe now I'm going to contribute back to my college and hire some of the students in the program I came from, and that's going to help me grow my company. And we're going to see this greater engagement. But I think that that is going to happen primarily at those institutions that are plugged into their communities, that are plugged into workforce needs, and that are used to responding nimbly in order to serve those needs.
Powerful. The synergy you're talking about is powerful and can be done. This is not
Yeah.
something that's going to Mars that we don't ever get to do. This is something that you could just drive your car to the store. It can be done.
Absolutely. And it's happening already. It's just not highlighted in the same way. 9.9 out of every 10 news articles is about one of 30 institutions in our country. And very rarely are we talking about what's happening at other types of institutions.
You've thrown out so many golden nuggets. I feel like a multimillionaire right now. Can I ask for one more?
Yeah, of course.
What's the advice? I think teachers and students, whether it's Duke University, community college, or high school or elementary teacher, there's that basic. What's the one, somebody listening, a lot of teachers do listen. What's one piece of advice you give to the teacher or a student that's listening?
I don't know if it's advice for teachers, but I think maybe advice for all of us to know about teachers is that teachers are asked to do everything, right? Teachers are asked to teach. Teachers are asked to be therapists. Teachers are asked to be learning specialists with increased acknowledgement of neurodiversity in classrooms, and that is inclusive of the college years. Teachers are asked to identify when somebody is having a mental health crisis or when somebody may have some other basic need that isn't being met and helping them through that. Teachers are asked to send students to tutoring. And there's a lot of emotional labor that goes into being a teacher right now. So I think my advice to everybody else is let's acknowledge that and let's ideally reward that, but let's also think about ways that we can shift some of that burden to others on our school and college campuses. My advice to teachers is it is okay to recognize that, and it is okay to ask for help. Teachers are not good at, I think educators in general are not good at saying, I'm overburdened, I can't do this, because we're in it for the students, and we don't want to not do something that's going to help our student. And yet, we're seeing unprecedented numbers of teachers and faculty in colleges just getting burned out and not able to do any of this, right? Or leaving the profession. So for teachers, my advice would be, I see you. I think a lot of us see you. We recognize what you're dealing with us. Help us think about how we can better support you and or identify different ways to help our students in the ways that they increasingly need it so that it doesn't all fall on you.
Of course, I asked for a golden nugget and you give me a golden boulder. Holy mackerel. I love that because my wife's best friend's a teacher,
Mhm.
35 years, 40 years in, and we hear stories. And I love
Yeah.
that. We got to recognize them. Teachers are not taken care of. Just going to say it right there. Let's end with a fun question. Let's get to know Carrie a little bit more. So I've got a reservation at a restaurant for you, table of
Yep.
4. You'll sit in one of the chairs. Those 3 empty chairs, whether they're dead or alive, who would you invite to have great conversation with, and what food would the table be eating?
Okay, well, I've thought about the people a lot because I love this game. Aaron Sorkin would be at my table because we would just have the best dialogue, right? Queen Latifah would be at my table. Maybe she sings, maybe she just helps us think about things, but her energy is fantastic. Um, and then who would my last person be? I try to think about who I've thought about before. I might ask, oh, I might get emotional about this. My father-in-law died almost 2 years ago. He had been the dean of students at Washington University for most of his career, and he was just the most beloved man. And the reason he was so beloved is because he saw himself first and foremost as a father, but also a mentor. And I think he was really a father to generations of college students, men in particular, who needed a mentor, who needed a second father figure. And we've been missing him. And I think about him a lot in the work that I do and in how we think about changing the work we do to future-proof it in colleges and universities. And I think it goes back to, and maybe this is your servant's heart nugget, Steve, is that he saw people for people and he was there for them, whatever they needed. And we could all use a little bit of that at our dinner table.
Amen.
As for food, as long as there's a good glass of wine in front of me, I'll eat anything.
We'll let the table order. Shout out. What's your father-in-law's name?
Harry Kisker.
Harry.
Yep.
Shout out to you in heaven. You've left a legacy, an audience. That's what the power is. You see what just happened? When a servant heart leaves this world, it goes to, I call heaven, but whatever you want to call it. That's what we want to do. And thank you for sharing that. Oh my God, I'm going to get emotional because my dad's the same way. So I appreciate you doing that. And we'll bring some pizzas and some Thai food and some Japanese, whatever. We'll just bring it because I have to sit there. I got to meet Harry as well because I love.
Yeah, you can be our fifth. You can be our 5th table guest, Steve.
Amen. That's awesome. Carrie, higher education needs help. You're so supportive of it. It's your business, yes, but you're bringing value. You brought so much value to this podcast, almost called TV show. It was like a TV show because you're like an actress. Very good, but real. How can people reach out to you and connect with you?
Sure. So my website is Kisker Ed Consulting, Ed short for education. And there's a email me link from there. You can also find me through centerforcommunitycolleges.org, which is the nonprofit research organization focused on community colleges I run. LinkedIn at Carrie B. Kisker.
And of course, she's got a nonprofit. Her servant heart has to keep flowing and keep being liquid.
Always.
I love that word. Thank you. God, you're just an absolute blessing. And audience, a teacher, somebody in community college, somebody that works at a community college, connect. Or more importantly, subscribe to this YouTube channel and the podcast. Because guess what? It gets sent you this link and you go, oh my God, Joe needs to see this. Joe listens to this podcast. You just gave him a gift. You made an impact on them. Whatever they do, that next step, that's what we need to be doing. And Carrie said it so well right at the end there. We need to be doing more of it. And it doesn't have to be my podcast. It could be any other podcast. It resonates with you. Send it to people and use them as gifts. With that being said, me and Carrie want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.